Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.
I would like to call to order the meeting of the Neenah City Council for Wednesday, October 16, 2019. First item of business will be the roll call. People could answer the clerk as your name is called and sign in on the roll call machine, please.
Alderpersons Boyette.
Here.
Bates.
Here.
Lang. Here. Lendrum.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Spellman. Here. Steele.
Here.
Coons.
Here.
Stevenson.
Here.
Sign in on the roll call machine also. Thank you. Here we go. There's a quorum present. All members are present. And the next item of business, or the next item will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Alderman Lendrum.
First time in 8 years. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it is one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty.
And you handled it well.
Thank you. I've had a lot of time to practice.
All that prep work.
I was starting to take it personally.
I did not know that, though.
Even with George Shirk, he didn't call on me. So.
Okay, sorry. I don't know. It's a long ways down there. Tammy and Carrie, hopefully. Hopefully I haven't forgot you too. Kurt, keeping a scorecard here. I don't know, but sorry about that. But all right. Well, welcome everyone, and thanks tonight. We have a couple fill-ins because one is at the SHRM conference at the Dells, and one is Jim is at home he had surgery on Monday morning. So joining us tonight, Stephanie Cheslock, Deputy Clerk, and we also have Adam, Deputy Assistant City Attorney. All right. So good. Welcome to them. And item number 2 is introduction and confirmation of some mayor's appointments. Item A is Mayor Coffert's appointment of Alderman Jane Lang to fill the unexpired term of Alderman Spellman on the Board of Public Works for a term that will expire April 2020. Is there a motion to confirm?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second to confirm the appointment. Is there any discussion? Unanimous. Is there any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing no objection, that's so ordered. Thank you, Alderman Lang. Alderman, item number B, Mayor Coffert's reappointment of John Rather and Lee Erickson on the Neenah Harbor Committee for a 3-year term that expires October 2022. Is there a motion?
So move. Second.
Second time using this, so. Okay, so there's a motion by Alderman Bates.
I think we may have to re-enter that, right?
I thought it was me. It was me. I was first.
Do it until she gets caught up. Motion by Alderman Bates, seconded by Alderman
Erickson.
Erickson Boyette. Sorry, apologize. There's a motion and a second to reappoint John Rather and Lee Erickson to the Neenah Harbor Committee for a 3-year term that will expire October 2022. Is there any discussion? Alderman Coons.
Just a concern, we have absent done.
How can I vote if I'm absent?
Not able to- Press.
Yeah.
Just
Everyone, if they could please, being here. Might have malfunctioned a little bit, so just, there we go. Alderman Lang and Alderman Lundrum. There we go. Close that. We have to close this present out?
Nope.
Okay. So there's a motion and a second for the reappointment of those two individuals to the Harbor Committee. No discussion. Is it?
I just, if we vote, it might work smoother.
Yeah.
I think the unanimous consent threw us off last time.
It should. But,
Yeah.
but you guys can.
But we'll try unanimous consent. Is there any objection? Unanimous consent for these two individuals being reappointed. Seeing no objection, that is so ordered. Next item is item number 3, approval of the council proceedings of October 2nd, 2019 regular session and the October 2nd, 2019 minutes of the Committee of the Whole. Is there a motion?
I'll move for the approval of the aforementioned minutes.
Second.
Alderman Stevenson moves, seconded by Alderman Lundrum. Can you punch that in, Carrie?
Sorry.
Please, there you go. Now there's a motion and a second to approve those council proceedings. Any discussion, correction, questions, comments? Seeing none, is there any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing no objection, that's so ordered. Tonight there is a public hearing. Item number 4 is a public hearing to consider rezoning land located on the southeast corner of West North Water Street and Abbey Avenue from I-2 General Industrial District to R2 Two-Family Residence District. I would open up the public hearing if anyone would like to comment on that consideration during the public hearing. Come on up. Welcome. Wait.
Good afternoon, good evening. Dwight Kerr, 434 High Street. A comment with speaking with a few of the neighbors in the neighborhood. We typically don't have any real disagreement with that being zoned R2 as long as it would be general, just a duplex or something like that. Many of the buildings in our neighborhood are, in fact, zoned two-family. Many of us, though, have taken and converted most all of them back into single-family residences. And we wouldn't necessarily like to see a transition back into two families since our neighborhood is slowly getting away from that designation that it was in the past. this building, this proposed building has a vacant lot one house away from it that I believe the same person owns. And we'd like to consider that in the future. Instead of having now, all of a sudden, we might have 3 multifamily homes right there in that corner. It's pretty dense as far as square footage is concerned, and it's right in with the Trestle Trail, which I'm fairly certain may or may not be the image we'd like to present with the trail. That's future consideration as far as the density. That's more what we were thinking about for the residents, and that's all I really have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Is there anyone else who'd like to address council during the public hearing on this rezoning request? Anyone else? Is there anyone else? Seeing no one else, I will close the public hearing. And we will go to item number 5, which is the Plan Commission report that pertains to the public hearing. Alderman Lang.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting for the Plan Commission meeting of October 8th, 2019. The minutes for this meeting can be found on the city website. One action item. The Commission recommends Council approve ordinance number 2019-23, rezoning 0.33 acres of land located on the southeast corner of Abbey Avenue and West North Water Street from I-2 General Industrial District to R2 Two-Family Residence District, and I would so move.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Lang, seconded by Alderman Lendrum. Any comments or questions? Chris, you have anything to add about Mr. Kerr's comments?
No, other than the balance of that neighborhood is zoned R2. It's a consistent zoning.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Alderman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. I was reading the Plan Commission minutes, and I noticed that Member Hancock Cook inquired why all the subject property wasn't rezoned R2. I didn't see any answer as to why that
I believe the reason the owner may have intentions that would be to utilize the balance of the property for something other than residential. I don't know what that is. I don't think there's any immediate plans, but allow the flexibility for that.
If I remember correctly, there was a garage or something, or a...
It's vacant, and then there's a warehouse, small warehouse garage type building, and there's a fair amount of industrial, commercial type uses on the balance of Abbey until you get further to the east.
So I was just curious because I didn't see any answers to the question. Okay, thank you.
I recall that meeting, but I think it was the owner wanted to keep his options. He doesn't have firm plans for any of them at this point.
Okay.
Alderman Coons. Alderman Boyett. Alderman Boyett, go ahead.
Thanks. I just wanted to say that I have spoken with some of the neighbors in that area, and we couldn't find the definition of R2 zoning and what exactly it says, because they do want to keep it residential. You don't want to see a parking lot or a boat launch or something else go in there in the future, or if this individual decides to sell in the future and his plan isn't, I know we can't predict the future, but we can take him on his word, but, things happen and then we get stuck with something later in the future that none of us wanted. And so I just wanted to say that, on behalf of the neighbors in that area, that direct area, they are wanting to keep it residential only. And they would be okay with a duplex or, a house that has 2 units or something like that. Not an apartment complex, not a 4-plex, like a 2-plex. So I just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you.
Great. Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want a quick follow-up. Chris, maybe you can help me out. The R2 isn't just, I mean, there's a rationale that community development uses when they look at rezoning and being like properties, and it isn't something you just pull out of a hat or because someone requested it. Is it, can you?
Not usually, no.
Okay.
No, the issue, I think the comments about single family as an example, to rezone this property, single family residential, you'd end up with a spot zoning, a single property zone R1 single family, while everything else is R2 and industrial. Obviously, this one is going from industrial to R2, which is defined as R2 two family, which is the maximum use. So a duplex is the highest density you could see on the site. So there's consistency things that we look towards to make sure that we have consistency and compatibility within the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Comments or questions? Seeing none, there's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2019-23. All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no, using the roll call machine, please. That motion passes 9-0. Item number 6 is the public forum. Public forum is an opportunity for any constituent or anyone to come speak to the council on any topic they wish. Is there anyone here tonight who would like to speak to us under the public forum? On up.
I guess I would just like to reiterate on the rezoning of this property. I understand that the bulk of the properties on West North Water Street are zone 2 family. But I would also like to stress that the majority of the homes on West North Water Street, even though they are zone 2 family, are in fact no longer 2 family. If they were at one time 2 family, most all of them have been converted to single family residences now. So while R2 is what the general zoning of the area is, it's not in actuality what the neighborhood truly is. For future references, and I guess this is a general opinion from the neighborhood.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, I close the public forum. Is there anyone who would like to comment on any of the? All right. We will move on to item number 8, which is the consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Here we go.
It was just
Alderman Lundrum moves, seconded by Alderman Lane. Is there any objection to unanimous consent on the consent agenda? Being no objection, that's so ordered. Consent agenda is approved. Item number 9 is the report of standing committees. The Public Services and Safety Committee is Chairman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. This meeting was held right before this meeting, so the minutes are not yet on the website. The committee recommended council approve the 7228, thank you, breakdown between the grant for the 2020 to 2025 STP Urban Grant Award, and this is for the South Commercial Street reconstruction, and it is currently at a 72 grant amount and 28% local cost share, and I would so move.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Bates, seconded by Alderman Lundrum. Discussion. Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. While I agree with what we have here, my guess is what we're agreeing to here is the grant. What I'm more concerned about is a date. I would love to see this moved up and not be 2025. My guess is that's more of a budget workshop CIP conversation. I know there's a lot of things that will make that more difficult, but my thought is, if I guess I look to deputy city attorney now, I think, because we haven't passed that yet. No, not yet. Assistant city attorney. Is the date? What are we approving here?
So all you're doing right now is essentially giving the state and the other communities your word that you will sign the agreement between the communities and the state. So legally there is no binding action that you're taking other than giving the 15 communities and the state your word that when the contractor memorandum is put together, you will sign it.
So basically, I support it, but I'd love to see my date standpoint moved up personally.
There's no doubt in my travels, probably the top question when it comes to roads is going to be one of top streets, but we'll have those future discussions, all right? Anyone else? Alderman Stevenson.
Yeah, just to follow up on that then, given the action that we're about to take, is it fair to assume that we'll have a CIP line item that would be South Commercial Street with a better defined timetable, i.e. 2025, 2024, or are you pretty sure it's going to be designed in 22, built in 25?
If the council wishes to get started earlier, depending on what other project priorities are within the CIP, we can certainly do that. The state would be perfectly fine if we wanted to build in 24.
Okay. Well, it's Christopher's point. It's a funding mechanism that we now can manage.
That's why I kind of agree, because when I said I think the council will get to talk more about that state, and that's because I will have the option of inserting that when they're done with engineering, design. I mean, we could, it's possible to move it up from 2025.
Yeah, I guess the main aspect that way is that I'm looking at a 3-year gap between when the design money is allocated and when we project construction to happen.
All right, thank you. All right, good. Alderman Boyette.
Thank you. I just have a question on, okay, so this council, our current council would approve this and we would vote this and it would be, excuse me, our word that we would move forward with this. But when this all starts to happen and the contract is signed, we'll have a different council. So how does that work?
Not unusual.
You don't normally break contracts, number one.
Right.
Well, we haven't signed the contract yet. So we're approving that we're going to give our word to sign it, but then we all potentially could not be here for the signage unless when is the signage?
Well, we won't all, it's not possible that we all won't be here.
So
2022.
I would imagine that the state would want to get a signed MOU sooner or a contract sooner rather than later would be my guess. So you are correct that if they get it to us in a year, let's say, there could be different members. I think staff would recommend not going back on your word, even though legally you probably could then say, we don't want to do it anymore. We would recommend not doing that just because it looks really bad on the city if we say, yes, we'll participate, and then when it comes time to signing the contract, council says, just kidding. But you are correct that in theory, then when we get the contract, council could vote to not do it, but staff probably recommend against that.
Do we have an estimated date or time of when that contract will be in front of us?
I really couldn't tell you when the state municipal agreement will be brought forward.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else, there is a motion and a second to recommend the South Commercial Street reconstruction project through the STP-urban application as outlined in the earlier Public Services and Safety Committee meeting held tonight. All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Using the roll call machine, please. That motion passes 9-0.
Moving on to the regular Public Services and Safety Committee meeting of October 8th. These minutes can be found on the city website. Committee recommends council grant permission for the police department to take part in the 2020 Impaired Driving Task Force grant with a grant amount of $20,000 and a city match of $5,000, and I would so move.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Bates, seconded by Alderman Boyette. Lang. Sorry. Alderman Boyette and Bates and Lang. Discussion on this item. Alderman Coons and Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question. I don't know who it's directly for, maybe Chief Olson, but I just want to know the scope of this. I looked at the minutes, and there's talk of seat belts and intent in talking your cell phone or whatever. What is the scope of this grant dollars?
The scope is OWIs.
And that's the folks. That's what you're looking at.
That's what we're looking for. But then the secondary citations. That's what that. I wasn't there, but I'm guessing the secondary citations was talked about. So if you pull somebody over for lane deviation, they're not impaired, but they weren't wearing their seatbelt, we can give them a seatbelt citation or suspended license or whatever it may be.
But all right, and because the question, I mean, I think it's been brought up, and maybe you've even brought it up before. I mean, the idea that giving tickets for seatbelts, but it's costs us a lot of money.
It does.
And so, but that's a secondary. You wouldn't stop people directly for that.
Correct.
And again, I believe I've heard in the past, this isn't we're putting stops out there and checking everybody that comes through, kind of a thing.
Correct. No, we will not be doing that. This is just extra officers on grant, working for the grant, not out patrolling for calls or anything like that. But we're not setting up roadblocks or anything like that.
Thank you.
I would just add from that meeting, Alderman Coons, the primary goal of the grant is for impaired driving. But this is another officer on the road, and he's not precluded to stopping for any violation. Is that correct?
Well, correct. If they see a violation, they can stop them because any violation can lead to an OWI, but it's an extra officer for any kind of enforcement, but the goal is OWI. But other violations, they can stop for other violations, but we're not going to stop somebody for a seatbelt typically.
Alderman Boyette.
Thank you. Chief, I was just wondering, what kind of numbers do we generate from this?
Last year we had 200 traffic stops, 16 OWIs, 90 citations, 192 warnings, 2 warrant arrests, 8 drug arrests, and 7 misdemeanor arrests, and 4 felony charges.
Thank you.
Alderman Bates.
As Captain Bernice said, I believe he said that we are given dates or time frames that they want us to fill to get these extra officers on the road. And as I see it, if you have officers on the road, hopefully that would put it in somebody's mind, I shouldn't drive drunk, and prevent someone else getting a ticket. So just having more presence on the streets, hopefully at the times that they're considering to be the most egregious, that it would be a positive thing, even without pulling people over, just keeping them, stopping them from drinking too much in the first place.
One would hope. Mm-hmm. Every agency in the county is participating except for Winneconne and Fox Crossing.
And I also believe that it's possible that you would pick up texters, as you said, if you're deviating from a lane, coming away from a traffic light. Absolutely. A lot of times that's what they're doing.
Absolutely. Actually, I'm sorry, Fox Crossing is participating. I think I was wrong. I think Winneconne PD is the only one not participating in the county.
Any other questions of the chief or any other comments? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Seeing none, motion and a second is to accept the 2020 Impaired Driving Task Force grant with the grant amount of $20,000 and a city match of $5,000. All in favor of that motion, vote aye. All opposed, vote no using the roll call machine, please. That motion passes 9-0.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you for your report. Item number C, the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting, October 7th. Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out from the regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of October 7th, 2019. The minutes can be found on the city website. Item number 1, the committee recommends council approve the following reclassifications and market adjustment effective January 1st, 2020. Assistant City Attorney from N3 to O3 with title change to Deputy City Attorney. Administrative Assistant to Mayor from F3 to G3. Deputy Director of Community Development and Assessment from N3 to O3. Code Enforcement / City Sealer from G3 to H3. And Director of Community Development and Assessment from S3 to S3 with an adjustment of a 5% market adjustment. And I so move.
There's a motion by Alderman
Second.
Erickson. Seconded by Alderman Lang. Discussion. Tell you that as you're all aware that our HR director is at a conference. She did send us all a memorandum and answered some of the questions that were brought up in committee. Her and I met and she went over all of this with me again. So hopefully I would be able to answer those questions because I've been kind of involved from the beginning. It all starts with people, these reclassifications, market adjustments, start with the individual going to their department head, and then they come to the mayor or to the HR director, and the HR director brings them to the mayor and to determine if we want to forward them to Carlson Detman. So that's, for that reason, I'm involved up on the ground floor, so to speak, but it's really handled mostly by HR and Carlson Detman. So if I can, I will attempt to answer the questions, or I'll defer to Director Easker. Alderman Boyette.
Thank you. I apologize. I was absent from this meeting. I just have a statement and a question. The statement is, I'm glad to see that we're following the plan that we had initiated and that it's working well, because this is exactly what we want our employees to do. So kudos for us for making this work and happen. But my one question is, Director Hayes, you're just doing a lateral, but you're getting a market adjustment. So you're not, everybody else is getting promoted and you're not. Is there nowhere for you?
Not getting promoted.
I'm sorry?
Not getting promoted.
They're
getting a reclassification.
A reclassification. I'm sorry, my bad. So your position can't be reclassified?
I will. There are, in the department head class, top 3 classifications, which department heads are all in. There is only one individual in the top grade, and that is the city attorney. All 7 of the other department heads are in the next classification, and I believe 2 are in the 3rd classification. So it has been determined by Carlson Detman and myself and a lot of other people that Director of Community Development should stay within that classification, number 2, but because of market factors and forces, that there should be a 5% increase in his salary.
And I'm fine with the increase, the market increase. I guess I just don't understand, like everybody else can be reclassified to a different letter and number, et cetera. but he's topped out at S3.
Let me just add one other thing. The reclassifications to different grades are because of job duties may have changed. Additional duties may have been added to that position. And so Charlie looks at that and says, the job is different than what it used to be. And because of that, we're going to reclassify that individual. So it's not just we're going to reclassify them because they asked for it. It's because the job duties and the responsibilities of that job have increased. And for that reason, the reclassification goes through. The community development was a little bit different factor. Director Hayes, I don't know if you want to answer that question. Or?
I don't think it's appropriate to have
Okay.
the director have to answer that question.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. There's a motion and a second. And to approve the reclassifications and the market adjustment effective January 1st, 2020, and those were outlined, positions were outlined in the motion. All in favor of the motion, vote aye. All opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0.
Item number 2, committee recommends council approve the transfer of excess property located along Harrison Street to Steve Spanbauer in exchange for Mr. Spanbauer paying the cost of a new land survey of the area not to exceed $1,800, with the city paying any cost over that amount, and I so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Erickson,
Second.
second by Alderman Steele.
Yeah. Right.
Discussion. Alderman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess it would be Director Hayes. Exactly where along Harrison are we talking about sometime?
It's right at the corner of Harris, well, yes, and Harrison. So as you exit Main Street and go south on Harrison, hairpin turn to the left, hairpin turn to the right. When you make that 90-degree, not hairpin, I'm sorry, that 90-degree turn to the right, that's the corner, that westerly side of the street, south and west side.
A leftover remnant from the overpass construction. It is a non-buildable parcel, and the one landowner would like to attach it. And Alderman Boyette.
I'm just curious, how did we come up with the 1,800 and why would the city be paying more or be paying the difference again?
So the $1,800 was the number that was discussed with Mr. Spanbauer. I actually, to be perfectly honest, think it was less than that. We don't know exactly how much the survey is going to cost. It could cost anywhere between $1,500 to possibly as much as $2,500. So it was really just a number that was kind of discussed. I don't know if Director Hayes or...
I think it was a reasonable estimate of what a survey would cost, right? We're recognizing that there could be variation, as Deputy City Attorney and who mentioned. Oh.
And then the city would be covering anything additional.
That's correct. Yes.
Thank you.
And Alderman Stevenson.
Along that line, who contracts to accomplish the survey? Do we do that, or does Steve do that? Who gets the survey?
Either can. Either Mr. Spanbauer or the Public Works Department could.
Yeah, we should make sure if we can do it, let's have us arrange it so we make sure we get the best deal.
Yeah, I had contacted several surveyors a year or so ago about this, and didn't get formal pricing, just got ballpark pricing at that point, but we can lock them in now.
All right, I would suggest that we manage that, since we we're on the hook. And if it's more than $1,800, I'd like to have the council be made aware of that. So by email or whatever.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments or questions? I would just add that one of the positives for the city of getting rid of this remnant is we don't have to mow it anymore. We don't have to maintain it. We don't have something happens there, goes wrong there. It's not our responsibility, and it becomes a taxable piece of property. So that's some of the benefits. Okay. All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no, using the roll call machine, please. That motion passes 9-0.
And that concludes my report.
And I haven't, before we leave that topic, I haven't followed through with talking to Jerry or Chris or whoever, but I think it'd probably be a good idea, and I think this was brought up in committee, to look around the city and see if there are any more of these properties or pieces, remnants around that we'd like to potentially get rid of so we don't have to maintain it. State is doing the same thing and getting rid of some of these properties that aren't of value to them and that. So at some point, I think we'll take a look. I don't think there's a lot of them, but we'll take a look. Okay? All righty. The item number 10 is reports of special committees and liaisons or various special project committees, and that has been taken care of earlier tonight. Item number A. Item number B is the Board of Public Works meeting of October 9th. Vice Chairman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two information-only items to report on. The board approved change order number 1 for contract 2-19, miscellaneous sewer and water main construction and street construction on Stanley Street, Stanley Court, and Thomas Court to Robert J. Immel Excavating, Inc., Greenville, in the amount of $26,314.30. The board also approved pay estimate number 6 for contract 2-19, miscellaneous sewer and water main construction and street construction on Stanley Street, Stanley Court, and Thomas Court to Robert J. Immel Excavating, Inc., Greenville, in the amount of $167,545.92. And that ends my report.
Thank you very much. Item number C is CDA. Is there any report tonight, Director Hayes?
I have no report at this time, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number D is the Library Board. Report from the Library Board is given by Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out from the Library Board. The Library Board met tonight at 4 o'clock. There are a number of events planned at the library. I encourage you to visit the city or the Neenah Public Library website, and I encourage you to check out books. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thanks for your report. Item number E is the Neenah Arts Council, also by Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. The next event for the Neenah Arts Council is the Celebrate the Season. It's the 3rd annual Celebrate the Season, which will be held on December 7th throughout the community. We are putting together a theme that highlights holiday books this year. So more information will be coming at our next meeting. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. There are no petitions tonight. Is there any council directives anyone would like to discuss? Unfinished business? Any unfinished business by anyone? And under new business, I will tell you that there will be an appointment to fill the unexpired 5-year term of Michael Smaby on the Water Works Commission. This term will expire October 2023, and this will be considered at the November 6th meeting. I also want to mention and publicly thank Mike Smaby. Mike is moving to Wild Rose, the retirement home, him and his wife. And Mike just finished 25 years on the Neenah Water Commission. 25 years as a volunteer on that Water Commission. And we have our last Water Commission meeting Monday night. So we'll be saying goodbye and thank you to Mike. But publicly, 25 years, and Mike has been a really valuable asset. He's an engineer by trade, and or I believe KC. I'm not 100%.
Yeah, it's Casey.
KC, I'm sorry. And he has really been valuable. He knows his stuff. And over the years, over this long career here on volunteering, he really did a wonderful job for the city of Neenah Water Department, Water Commission. So I just want to publicly thank Mike for his time. He's volunteered for us over 25 years. So then, under any announcements, any other people have announcements before I make one last one? Any other announcements before we go into closed session? We will be going into closed session after this. Anyone have any announcements or anything they'd like to share? All right, seeing none, I would just lastly just like to extend this city and this council and myself's deepest sympathy to the family of Kevin Hine. We called him Hollywood. Many of us knew him. He was around town a lot at different places and enjoyed to socialize with people. And if you've read some of the things about him, he was a pretty cool guy. And he unfortunately lost his life, killed during the commission of a robbery crime on Sunday night that's being investigated by our police department. We are expending a lot of time, effort, and hours into finding out who did this. There have been some photos released, some pictures released with regards to the car and of the subject. And I granted the pictures of the subject aren't the greatest, but the car is a pretty good picture. So I just want to urge people that if they notice anything out of the ordinary, if they have the slightest bit of information about who may have committed this crime, they know who the car is, or they think they have an idea. If they have something and would like to share it with the police department, they can call the 911 number. They can call the City of Neenah non-emergency number, and there's also the anonymous Crime Stoppers tip line. So we want to. The police department is really committed to finding and bringing to justice the killer at the bar that night. So anything that citizens can do to help us in that regard would be greatly appreciated. And once again, we send our sympathies to the family. Is there a motion?
I'll move to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, parent 2.
Second.
Want that systemic? Okay.
So Alderman Stevenson moves that we convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Stats Section 19.85, parent 1, parent E, for the purpose of discussing bargaining strategy related to potential development agreements regarding development projects in and around the Gladfelter redevelopment area in downtown Neenah. Is there a second? Alderman Boyett seconds. All in favor of going into closed session, vote aye. All opposed, or not?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All in favor going into closed session, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? None. The ayes have it. We are in closed session. We will give just a few minutes so that our audio-visual guy, Dan, can get his tape together. We'll come in back into closed session. So we'll take a short break here, okay?
Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin, Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website. www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.